In this video, I will expose the hundreds of Palestinian children being held without charges in Israeli prisons, the torture they endure, the permanent mental damage that they're suffering, how they want the Palestinian people to suffer in silence. These are hostages just by another name. Crafty Counsel at its finest. Let's go.
No one can do it better.
The Palestinian Prisoners Society has told Al Jazeera that at least 70 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank have been detained by Israeli forces overnight. This is in addition to at least 30 workers from Gaza who were rounded up near Hebron. Since the start of the Gaza war, more than 700 Palestinians have been detained in the occupied West Bank. About 6,000 Palestinian prisoners were already being held in Israeli jails before the latest round of arrests, including 33 women and 170 children. The majority of all these people are under administrative detention. That's detention without charge, or they are charged with incitement on social media. And even if they do face a trial, they are prosecuted in military courts. Well, human rights groups say they face difficult conditions and harsh interrogation techniques. Hoda Abdelhamid reports.
It started out as a normal day, but as is often the case in the occupied West Bank, it turned into a bloody one.
We were happy. It was a good day. Then our car broke down. We got out to see what was wrong. The soldiers thought we were going to throw stones. They started shooting at us.
Ayham took 3 bullets in his right arm, the abdomen, and his left foot. But that was only his latest brush with the Israeli army. Just a few months ago, Ayman and his brother Wadia were detained during a night raid. Their experience similar to this one. In a video released by Bet Salem, an Israeli human rights group, a father tells his son to wake up. Don't be scared. The army is here, he says. Ayham and Wadia were taken away in front of their helpless parents.
It was petrifying. We were both in a 1 square meter cell. We couldn't lay down to go to sleep. We were tied up in a chair. We asked for water, they said no water, and no toilet unless we admitted our crime. I kept on telling them we didn't do anything.
There are currently more than 180 minors held in Israeli jails, many for as little as throwing stones at soldiers, or like this 13-year-old child who was arrested for picking wild herbs near a settlement. Many of the detainees are taken to prisons inside Israel. Parents need to apply for a visitation permit through the Red Cross, and that could take up to 3 months. In the meantime, the minor is cut off from the world. On average, 800 Palestinian minors are held in military detention each year. Israel says it's on security grounds. The age of criminal responsibility in the occupied territory is 12. That doesn't apply to settlers who carry out attacks on Palestinians.
Palestinian children are potential terrorists. So this is the mentality by which the Israeli officials are treating Palestinian children. So first of all, they convince themselves that they are treating or dealing with potential terrorists and behaving accordingly.
15-year-old Ahmed Al-Atras still shivers when he remembers his ordeal. He was on his way to have a haircut in Hebron when Israeli soldiers pounced on him just a few weeks ago.
At first they didn't do anything, but then they taunted us, tied my hands, blindfolded me, made me sit on a chair. Each time I tried to sleep, they would pour water on me. I was always thinking about my parents. What will happen to them if they were to keep me here? And I was really worried for my mum and dad.
Ahmed was released after 2 weeks. But like many children who face military courts and prisons, it's an experience that will have an impact on him for the rest of his life. Hoda Abdelhamid, Al Jazeera, in the occupied West Bank.
As well as the daily bombardment, the relentless bombardment of Gaza, we've also seen Israeli forces push further into the occupied West Bank.
Yes.
You know, close to 100 people have been killed in the last 2 weeks. Can you just give us a sense of what that means? And I guess, is that a show of force, a show of strength, a show of control by the Israeli forces?
It shows, in fact, a very clear message. It's a war against the Palestinian people. They don't want to see a Palestinian opposing the occupation. They want to deny there is occupation. They want the Palestinian to be subdued, to be quiet, to accept the de facto situation and just go with their business as usual. And that cannot happen. What pushed Gaza to this kind of explosion is because of the measures they imposed on Gaza, the siege for 16 years, the bombardment, the attacks, the war. The Gazan did not leave one single day without losing or some dear ones or being attacked. Same thing now with the West Bank. So the Israelis want this kind of uprising or this kind of feeling among the Palestinians to be muted and to accept the situation, saying that if you want to rise, if you want to resist, there is a big price and you will pay for it. So
yes. And they're not only paying for it with their lives as well. We understand that there's been at least 700 Palestinians detained in the occupied West Bank. The majority of them are under administrative detention. For those that might not understand exactly what that means, can you just explain that and I guess the reason that Israel do it that way?
They have this kind of strange law that to take any person whom they suspect or they don't like, to put them in administrative detention. That means they don't accuse him of anything, they don't put him on trial, and they don't release him. And they keep renewing this detention 3 months and 3 months and 3 months. Some of them spend 6 years in detention without being put on trial. So that's a way that they contain some of these activists or some of those who might be potentially ready to resist Israel and without being questioned by any human rights organization or anything, because they are in detention, not in prison. Once they get to the prison, once they go to trial, at least they know they will spend this number of years in jail, and they might leave, and they might not. But at least they know what's waiting for them. But this detention mechanism, it's really hurting the Palestinians. They don't know what is expected for them. They stay in detention again and again and again without light in the end of the tunnel.
It's all about control from the Israeli point of view, isn't it?
Yes, it's all about, they want to control the whole population.
I had to make sure I got this information out to you guys. Awareness is key. The children are being jailed. And to me, these are hostages just by a different name. That's that crafty counsel again that they use against his people. Whenever you see the news saying that there's 200 plus hostages that Hamas has taken, remember that there are hundreds, 700 plus, who are detained and they're not accused of a crime and they don't receive a trial. They're just held in cells in perpetuity. I proclaim to you that these are hostages just by another name with the use of crafty counsel so that it's not plastered all over TV. And 6,000 of them already were in jail. And there's just no charges. There's no charges. They've got no court date. They never know when they're going to get out. They're prosecuted under a military court. If they get lucky to get prosecuted, they get prosecuted in a military court. The IDF shoots them first, like you saw in that video, like they do us in the United States. If they're scared, they have a license to shoot. They enter these homes and they take the children from the clutches of the parents. There's 180 minors that are in jail. This is just inhumane. The parents have to apply to see the kids, and that could take 3 months. On average, 800 minors are held in the military detention yearly for so-called security reasons. And the age of criminal responsibility for the Palestinian children, not the Israeli children, for the Palestinian children is 12 years old. They arrested a 12-year-old Palestinian kid because he was picking herbs to eat. Are you kidding me? And I'm telling you guys, these children are permanently mentally damaged, and most will never reach their God-given potential. And remember that the children's minds are growing at these young ages. These things are causing irreparable damage to them. And like I said, lots of Palestinian children have been killed because 56% of the population of Palestinians is below the age of 18. And the last figures I saw said that of the 5,000 people that have been killed, 2,500 of them were children. But there is a small silver lining. I try to find the good in everything. Here is the silver lining that I found. Children below the age of consent in the eye of the Father automatically go to heaven. If they're below the age of being able to consent to accept Christ into their life, to follow Christ, they automatically go to heaven. So the majority of these children are in heaven with the Father right now. So you guys, you can take some comfort in that. They will be in heaven in eternity with the Father forever. And also, as I have proved, some of these Palestinians are Israelites. Like I said, in the Jewish Doctor Comes Clean about Palestine and Israel, you can go see that video. He says, like I have said, that they were Israelites as well. Then afterwards, they migrated in Arabs hundreds of years later as they tried to change the population. This is clearly a war against the Palestinian people. And plus, they don't want them to oppose the occupation. They want them to suffer in silence the same way they wanted us to suffer in silence in the United States when we were in slavery, and now as we're persecuted in the United States. I'm speaking of Israel. They have to fight for their human rights, or else they will be in perpetuity under occupation and relieved of their human rights that we all have as human beings. They can't stop resisting. They can't. They can never stop resisting, and they never will. And Israel's just showing them, if you resist, there's a high price to pay. And the other thing is, the Khazars, the synagogue of Satan, cannot use white Jesus and Judaism to show to these people like they did to us. They gave us Christianity and Catholicism and showed us a white Jesus so that we could be subdued as slaves and saying we're going to get ours in heaven if we're good slaves. They can't do that to these Palestinians because they're free, in air quotes. They're free people because they're not enslaved, but they're just a notch below it, being occupied under a military occupation for 67 years. But so that doesn't work, so they have to brutalize them. All that they've got left is to use force. I'm telling you, there's something special about these people for the entire world to turn their back on them, to allow this to happen, for all these feckless leaders to allow this to happen to these people. It's just a travesty, and I'm telling you, the angels are taking notes. They're taking notes of the people that are allowing this to happen. It's going right up to the Father into his throne room, and he will be taking action, and his wrath will rain down. That is a guarantee because that's what's in the scriptures. Now let me get to some verses that kind of sum up the situation about these children going into jails and being hostages by a different name. Deuteronomy 28:41. These are the curses. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. And when you're in a jail cell, you're in captivity. It's not the captivity like slavery, but that is a form of captivity when you are in a jail cell. Revelations 2:10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So I hope that these children that are in jail, that don't have charges brought up against them, that their parents can't come see them, and that if they're lucky to get a trial, that they'll be under a military trial, that the Father will have mercy on them and will punish those that have done this. Yeah, we pray for punishment over here as well, because the Father, just as much love as he is, he's also wrath. So I reason with him regarding that. Next verse, Luke 21:12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. We are seeing that now. And the last verse, hopefully to bring some sort of hope here, Luke 4:18, the Spirit of Yahweh is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. And that is Christ's words there. That is Christ speaking. And that is what he came to do. And he achieved it. I'm telling you guys, there is something special about these people. Real quick, you guys, this is some content on my channel I know that you're going to love. Kat Von D leaves the darkness, steps into the light of Christ. AI imagines Christ's face from Turin's shroud. Do the images match the scriptures? Full biblical breakdown. Coach Prime inspiring a nation number 4. Coach Prime wears Christ on his sleeve, and I apply biblical scriptures to his motivational speeches, as well as press conferences and the like. U.S. builds world's first billion-dollar prison as homelessness and hunger runs rampant, and Hamas takes 14 settlements from Israel. This is major military analysis. All praises to the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. This is Crown Prince Media. I am the Crown Prince. Let's go.
No one can do it better.